Well, let's lead into our conversation tonight. Our first guest with these figures, how the outgoing administration met workers and how it is leaving them come May the 29th. Well, the big one, of course, is the minimum wage. Today, Nigeria's minimum wage is at 30,000 naira, right? So if you were to do a quick calculation, the 30,000 naira minimum wage divided by the current dollar to naira FX rate, you get $40. But in 2015, the minimum wage was 18,000 naira. If you were to use the exchange rate at that time, it was actually $91. That's 197 naira to a dollar at that point or thereabouts. So that is the minimum wage situation 2015 versus today. Let's talk about unemployment figures, which is also central to any conversation on labor. Today, unemployment is at 33.3%. Projections even say it will get as high as 41%. And Nigeria is expecting the workforce figures for this month. It's expected to come out in the coming months. So today is at 33%. In 2015, it was at 8.2%. That's right. We'll take a look at inflation, which of course affects the value of the minimum wage, the naira, in your hands. Inflation today is at 22%. If we could just take a look at inflation, there you go. In 2015, it was less than 10%. So that gives you a picture of how things have changed. Well, there are more figures like the cost of PMS, petrol, cooking gas, the cost of food items. The list goes on and on. But we need to get into that conversation tonight. You get a sense of where we're going, and you might need to grab a seat for this one. We're joined on the program by the Honorable Minister for Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige. He was at the venue of the Workers' Day celebration earlier today, and he joins us live from the nation's capital this evening. Honorable Minister, thank you for joining us on the program. I know it's been quite a busy day for you, so thank you so much for making time out to speak to Nigerians.
Thank you, Kayode. Thank you. Happy May Day to all you Nigerians.
Indeed. But the question is just how happy is the day? Because for the average Nigerian workers, what is worth celebrating about today, really? Their minimum wage, 18,000 naira in 2015, $91 at that time. Today, it's $40, even though it's 30,000 naira. Add to that the inflation at 22%. It was less than 10% in 2015. So when you say Happy May Day, what should workers be celebrating, really?
Well, Kayode, thank you. I listened earlier to the statistics you were reading out and the economic indices, inflation, erosion of the naira to the dollar, and the rest of them all. Yes, this is world over. The rising cost of living in terms of payment for utilities, payment for transport, whether there is electricity in the utility section or water or whatever, is rising up. Cost of production, world over, rising up. So Nigeria is not insulated from this particular predicament pervading the entire world. That is not to say that a worker is not due his wages, and that the wages that a worker should take is a wage that will take him home, as said in labor parlance. So Nigerian workers are right to ask for more. The Nigerian government is also right to give them what they have under the basis or the principles of ability or capacity to pay. That is the norm in labor. You don't promise what you cannot do. You don't tell your worker or your employee, I will pay you X amount of money, and then at the end of the day, you pay X minus Y. No, it's not allowed. So that is why you do what is called collective bargaining. Social dialogue. From social dialogue, you break the things down and then arrive at an agreement. That agreement is now called a CBA, collective bargaining agreement. And that binds everybody. And if in the course of the journey, it is seen that this is not doable, everybody will reconvene again to the table and do another CBA. You can renegotiate a CBA. So the Nigerian workers are right in demanding what they're demanding for wage increases and giving them something that will make them live well. The decent work agenda of the ILO and the United Nations makes for people to live a good life, have shelter over their head, eat good food, and then do other things of life so that they are human beings. But I don't like the idea of every time you want to look at the naira vis-a-vis the dollar, you equate it simplicity like that. You cannot, because there are certain things that are purchasable under the naira that you don't use the dollar to purchase. Yes, if you talk in terms of food items, water, and other things, these are things that you must equate, rationalize under the naira component. There are certain components that are dollarized or dollar-based. Yes, most of them are imported materials. So if $18,000 at the time, 18,000 naira was about, you said 33 naira, I don't know the amount again you said in dollars, and what the 30,000 today.
$40, $40.
Yes, I agree there's an erosion.
Right.
Correct, for the 30,000.
Yes.
Which rate are you using? Are you using the official market rate or the black market rate?
Well, I'm using the rates that majority of Nigerians have access to.
Okay, which is the street rate. Okay, but you see, you don't have to just simplicity do this kind of rationalization and then say because it's $40 vis-a-vis what it was in 2015 that nothing has been done. No, certain things have been done. If I'm buying yam, if I'm buying vegetable, if I'm buying whatever, I don't pay for them in dollars. Right. So these are the things. But that is not to say, like I said before, that government is not trying its best. This government, apart from giving that minimum wage of 30,000, which was a 66% rise from 18,000 to 30, we meant well. Before other factors came into play, factors of economic recession, 2 recessions, and the rest of them all. We are also the government that put in the renegotiation of the minimum wage into the act, that every 5 years you automatically have to renegotiate it. So the next negotiation of the minimum wage or the next change of the minimum wage will be in the year 2024. I had advised in my handover note that the government should put in place a national minimum wage review committee. Immediately they come in.
Well,
so
Honorable Minister,
should start. So that by,
if I could come in now,
by May 2024, a new minimum wage will come.
Okay, we'll get into the minimum wage conversation, which is, central to this. It's about money. But let's go back to the point you made about the dollar. When you began responding to the question I asked, you talked about this being a global issue. You compared this to other countries, saying it is happening everywhere, right? But when it comes to the minimum wage, you don't want to compare it to the dollar. You don't want to compare it to what's happening everywhere. In other climes, they're giving cost of living support. In the UK, you get, what is it, £400, for example, because they recognize that, well, the cost of living is increasing, so they get support. So when we compare in one sector and then we choose not to compare, don't you think that is double speak? Why not equally compare the minimum wage to the dollar, since you've said it's happening everywhere?
No, I cannot, Kayode, I cannot. Because
so you pick and choose which works for you?
Is that not, you don't, no, listen, you don't dollarize 100%, simplicity, everything. And I'm telling you that commodities, there are things you buy here that are indigenous to us, you buy them with the naira. And if you compare the cost of buying them here, like yam, I buy yam in America, I know how much it costs me in America. So I know how much it costs any foreigner or any Nigerian or any US citizen. Some US citizens, friends of mine, they like yam. I've taught them how to eat yam. A tuber of yam in America is costing about $15. Translate it. While a tuber of yam here will cost about 2,000 naira, the same amount. So that's the point I'm making. I'm not picking and choosing. You are very correct that even in other climes, there are support given to workers. That is why after the national minimum wage, this government did in 2020 what is called consequential adjustment for all group of workers on the 12th wage structure in Nigeria. We have about 12 wage structure. So we gave everybody a percentage raise vis-a-vis the 6% that was done for the minimum wage. The minimum wage, by the way, is for the most vulnerable person under the lowest rung of the ladder, which in government circle or employment circle is grade level 1, step 1. That is the person that is getting minimum wage. So we reviewed everybody. Some got 30% raise, some got 25%, some got 20%, some got 15%. Those that are on the high scale level 17, they got about 5% or 10%, some of them 10%, depending whether you are in the parastatal or you are in the core civil service and in what we call the COMPS salary scale. That is Consolidated Public Service Scale, COMPS. So this is what happened. After that adjustment, they were paid arrears, starting from 2019 May. And a lot of people got it. So these are the things you don't go announcing and blowing trumpet, but they are done. They are really done. Again, as we are speaking now, we have, without any industrial action, as a committee of the Presidential Committee on Salaries, headed by the Civil Service, Head of Civil Service of the Federation, to do what we can call a rationalization of all these wage structures. There are about 12 of them. And it was pointed out that the people on COMPS, Consolidated Public Service Scale, were about, in some cases, 60% differential with other wage structures.
All right.
So government moved fast to give them a 40% raise. And it's that 40% raise that we paid them about a fortnight ago or last week under what we call peculiar allowance. They got that.
Right. So, Honorable Minister.
And some mischief makers now started saying, oh, we excluded doctors, we excluded university teachers, we excluded university workers, nurses. No, we didn't exclude anybody.
Okay.
These monies have been budgeted for.
All right.
All these unions are already involved in a negotiation for a CBA. And I told them today in Eagle Square, rush your CBA with your parent ministry or your employer, deposit it with Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment and National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission. We transmit it to PCS, Presidential Committee on Salaries.
Okay, so that's vital
CBA,
information.
The percentage I agreed will be done.
Okay, so that's vital information for those concerned. But there's a lot of ground rather to cover, and I'd like to just get you to speak to this one pointedly. Will there be an increase in wages of public servants to make up for the rising cost of living? I mean, just pointedly. You said the last time that you had approved it at a committee level. You're waiting for the president to approve.
It's been done.
It has been done.
It's been done, Kayode. That's what I'm saying now. It's been done. They have received the money. They have received the alert, effective from January 1, 2023. And it's costing the federal government about 79 billion. For those on COMPS, Consolidated Public Service Salary Structure, they have gotten it. That's what I said, that some mischief makers are saying that we excluded the health workers, doctors, teachers and workers in the tertiary institutions, universities, polytechnic, and I'm saying no, we did not.
Because
These
some
are already on negotiation of CBA.
Because some interpreted that as you saying that there will be a rise in the minimum wage. If you can hear me, Minister, some interpreted it as saying, well, before this government goes,
yes,
there will be a rise in the minimum wage. So you're saying that there will not be any rise in the minimum wage?
No.
All right. So something came up earlier today.
The minimum wage, because the act that we're implementing says that it's reviewed every 5 years. So from 2019, the next 5 years on 2019 is 2024. And I've said that incoming government will put up a committee on the review against 2024, May 2024.
Okay, so I guess that clears the air on that one. But I'd like you to take a listen to this statement made by the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki. He actually raised the alarm, and I'd like you to listen in and get your response.
We are all workers. Yes. All of us are workers. Yes. So I'm here as a member. I thank you for the honor. Freedom where we live. Hallelujah makes us strong. Solidarity, solidarity. Forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever.
We're working very hard to make life better for all of you. We are not oblivious of the fact that Nigeria is in trouble. The economy of our country is in a terrible state. It will be a miracle for the federal government and state governments to pay salaries beyond June this year without resorting to massively printing money or removing fuel subsidy. Either of these decisions will bring more hardships and pain to us as a people, particularly to you, the workers. Therefore, we must all make sure that the burden and pain of these measures, which must be taken, are not borne by workers alone.
Well, apologies for that mix-up earlier, but that's the point the governor was making, and he says that unless there is massive printing of the naira or the removal of subsidy, that payment of salaries will be difficult. Is that the same information you have from your end, Honourable Minister?
I don't have the same information. I've already told you that these have been budgeted for. The increases we're talking about for the doctors in the health sector. The doctors have concluded their negotiation under the auspice of the NMA with Federal Ministry of Health, and they have come to us, and salaries, incomes, and wages. We're transmitting the CBA down to Presidential Committee on Salaries. The same for the nurses and midwife and everybody in the health sector. The same for the university lecturers who went on strike for 9 months or 8 months last year. The same for workers in the university system and polytechnic. Already 350 billion have been captured in the appropriation of 2023.
So pardon me to jump in. Minister, the point he was making, I think, is not about whether or not it's being budgeted. It's about actually paying the salaries. And he says that unless there's massive printing of the naira or the removal of subsidy to maybe free up funds, then payment of salaries might be difficult. So the question is, do we have enough money to pay for salaries, at least for June and upwards?
I'm not the central bank governor, neither am I the finance minister. These two manage the Nigeria economy, the fiscal and the macro. Even if it means printing money, I cannot print. I don't even know how it is done. So I'm telling you what I know as labor minister.
All right.
And a member of the Presidential Committee on Salaries and Wages. So Governor Obaseki, I don't know where he has the information from, but I will advise him as a state governor to face his state and not talk about federal government. Let him face his state and make sure, that, like he said, that the weight of those increases are not borne by the workers alone. His political appointees, he should cut off, shed weight from them, and then get enough money. So I don't know what he's talking about. I'm not in Edo State. Like I told you, I'm not the manager of the federal economy. fiscal and macro. So for me, the one that concerns me is that as labor manager, chief labor officer of the Federation, who is in charge of the workers, I'm their father, we have made provision for them. President Muhammad Buhari and this outgoing government have made provision for them. And I'm sure that the incoming government of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will toe the same line, do the necessary fixing. He's a finance manager. He managed the finances of Lagos very well. He paid all the salaries that needed to be paid, and even had extra payment for his judicial workers and judges and everybody in Lagos. So I have no fear about that at all.
Well,
in fact, pensioners in Nigeria, Asiwaju was one of the governors that paid 142% rise with Rivers, and Anambra, 3 of us only. So
I wonder...
don't drag me into that area.
Well, it's just to get the direction, or at least the information you have from the perspective of the federal government. I wonder if you give that same advice to the federal government about, cutting political appointees, shedding the weight, the same way you've advised the governor of Edo State. I wonder if you're taking on that advice too for the federal government.
Well, when the government comes in, they know what to do.
No, I'm saying this current government, the current government that you're a part of is what I mean, Honorable Minister. Have you given that advice?
Where we needed to shed Kayode. Kayode, what advice am I giving me? My salary is 942,000 naira a month.
Is that the total or just the basic?
That's my salary with my PA. Gross total after taxation.
Are you counting the allowances, Honorable Minister? Are you counting the allowances that accrue to your office, or is just
allowances? Like which one?
Are you saying you're not entitled to any other allowance apart from the 900,000 naira you get?
Okay, they mention it now. Why are you saying are you not entitled? You should be empirical.
Well, you tell Nigerians. You said which one. So are you entitled to any other allowance? Because I think it's statutory that aside the basic, you get other allowances, either for transport, feeding, and all of that. Are you saying you do not get any of those allowances?
My feeding, my transport, the salary of one PA, the salary of my gardener, my cook, they are all consolidated. And after taxation, after heavy taxation, they pay me 942,000. Every minister you see, that's what it is.
Okay,
special advisors around that amount too. That's what it is.
Okay, that's interesting. Of course, we'll be checking that as well to follow up on that one that you made. But talk to us about the policies.
Please do.
We will.
The allowances are not anything. We don't have any allowances. Except if you travel, you can get duty tour allowance. Finish, like every other public officer. Which is usually a very juicy one as well. I don't know what you mean. It had just been reviewed the other day. And it's reviewed to 100,000 naira a night for ministers, and I think ministers of state, 75, permanent secretaries, 70, and down the line to level 1. Everybody's own was reviewed, not only our own. So,
okay, let's wind down on this, Minister. I'm glad that you're giving out these figures for Nigerians, so at least they know what's going on the government side. But talk to us about why this government has not been able to bring down the unemployment figures. And some worry that with the new figure coming out this May, it might even be higher than 33%. Is it no clear policy? Was it a lack of implementation of those policies? Or what exactly was the factor responsible for having such high unemployment rate and not being able to bring it down?
Okay, the point there is that job creation is a cross-cutting thing. It is not only for the public sector to do. Everybody have it in mind that it's the government that create jobs. No. If we don't work in the federal ministry or government agency, we have not got a job. No. The private sector is there. The private sector have their industries. They have workplaces. And then they create jobs through agriculture, through every other thing that they are doing. So it is not something for government alone. Job creation is a cross-cutting thing. And I'm telling you now that if the economy is not good, if the economy is suffering from some hemorrhagic afflictions, you will not have enough money in the system to ginger the system in such a way that works, jobs are created.
Okay.
That is the problem.
I know we don't.
Foreign direct investment into Nigeria has gone down.
Okay. I know we don't get to have you often. I'm hoping we can continue this conversation because we're running out of time some other day. But quickly, a strike by resident doctors, it is imminent. And, well, some have said, at least before this government goes, they hope that they will be able to curb this impending strike. Add to the fact that there's that bill for, doctors to stay back for 5 years at least before they get their full license. So I wonder what will be the thinking of this government. Is that something you support on the one hand, and are you speaking to the resident doctors such that they do not go on that strike?
Well, I've told you earlier on before that Nigerian Medical Association have almost concluded the discussion on pay rise for medical doctors. We are waiting for them to initial with their employers, deposit the CBA with me in my ministry. Same goes for the other health workers, nurses, midwives, pharmacists under Johesu. Same goes for SANU. They have concluded this with Ministry of Education before. So when they bring this, it goes to Presidential Committee on Salaries, all that wage rise. The medical doctors who are resident doctors are part of NMA.
All right.
They are young doctors in training. So if NMA is negotiating on their behalf, as the parent body, because they have about 4 affiliates into the NMA. We have them, NARD, you have Consultant Medical Practitioners Association, MDCAN. You have also the General Medical Practitioners. You have another group. So there are about 4 affiliate bodies into the NMA. So what the young men are doing is in bad taste, and I've told their president. You are disrespecting the NMA. The NMA is our parent body. The president of NMA is #1 doctor in Nigeria. So what they are doing is that they're crying wolf when there's none.
Okay, so I was asking if you support, just quickly, if you support that bill.
Negotiated this. Number 2, the bill in question, I don't support it. But you will not deny that legislator. He's right to put a private member's bill. It's not an executive bill. Even the speaker cannot stop that bill because the man is coming from a constituency. What happens in a private member's bill in National Assembly is either from your constituents that give it to you, or it's you that authored it after having a discussion with people in your constituency, and they say, this is what we think will cure this problem. But for me, that's trying to kill an ant or a fly with a sledgehammer.
Okay, we have to go now, Honorable Minister.
The better thing to do is for Federal Ministry of Health and others to look at the medical school, and for the medical school, you start talking about fees payable.
All right.
Those who cannot pay fees, you put them on bond. I was a scholarship person. I was bonded by the former East Central State government because I was on the scholarship. So that is how they should go, not going to bring a bill that put shackles and chain on the leg of anybody. No.
Well, Well, we have to go now, Honorable
when
Minister.
You are training them.
And it looks like you're speaking as a medical
Yes,
doctor
they cannot
now,
be paying 50,000.
and not as a Minister of Labor. It looks like you're
Yes,
speaking for your
I'm
constituency. But we would like to
Both
thank you
of
so
them,
much.
Both of them.
All right.
Both of them.
We would like to thank you so much, Dr. Chris Ngige, Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment. There's still a lot to cover, by the way, on the situation for workers. So we do hope that you'll be joining us again to continue this conversation.
I will.
All right, thank you so much for your time, and we wish you the very best.